All right, guys, Jacob here, Flawless Airworks. Little bit of a deep dive review of the various engines that are now available for the Insight and the Onslaught, basically the NG platform, including the Phase. So kind of buckle up. This might be a long video, but it's not going to be too scientific or too much in depth, but mostly to cover the different engines. I know a lot of people have questions about that, you know, what engines and what. So I'm just going to kind of go over that as a brief review. So in this video, we have the three engines here. We have the stock engine, which you see right here. We have the reflex engine, which is what we have right here. This was also produced in the Onslaught as its stock engine, but it also has an upgrade to the Insight as what you see right here. So this is an upgrade to the Insight, but this is standard for an Onslaught. And then what we have here is we have the Hindsight engine, which is what was brought to life from Blast Legacy. So that's what we have here. So first thing I'm going to go over is I'm just going to go over the stock engine here. So the stock engine is normally you'll see indicated by red bolt parts. It'll have a red ram, red bolt tip, could also be silver. I wouldn't really use color as a measurement, but relatively common design. You'll see nothing kind of protruding out the back right here. Pretty standard design, nothing too crazy. On off has the shut off here as normal. I'm just going to unscrew it real quick. You see, you have your standard shut off right there with the ram. Nothing too crazy. This is the standard bolt. This came standard with all Insights and Phases. Yeah, so that's this one. Pretty basic. And then you will have your reflex engine, which if you noticed, this bolt, when you push it all the way in, it doesn't go forward. It's just forward and, you know, pretty standard. This one, as you notice, there's a spring here. If I push it like that and let go, it springs forward again. So there's a pad back here with a spring on it that its intention was two things: to help rear recoil when the bolt's coming back. It hits this, basically this bumper, this spring in the back that keeps it from doing that. And then also it helps with first shot drop off. So a lot of times whenever you would air up your gun, your bolt stays forward and it might be stuck from the lube. So when you air it up, your bolt actually sucks back, breaking that seal. And then it helps with the first few shots. Now, as you go throughout the day, obviously, that might not be the case. It was kind of just the beginning of your day, but its main purpose was to absorb any kind of rear recoil and just be more dependable. Usually you will see the ram will be green. The ram is actually a little bit longer than the stock one, and the shutoff is actually a little bit different too. There's an extra O-ring in there. And then I'll unscrew this one just so you do see it. It's going to visually kind of look the same, but the shutoff is a little different, just to kind of show you. They look the same, but they're a little different. You kind of see very minimal changes. You can see the shutoff here is a little bit longer. It's not that much longer. The rams visually are the same and function the same, but everything's a little bit longer to counter for the longer shutoff. So that's pretty much what that is. Let me put this back. And then of course you have the Hindsight, which is the newest engine brought to us by Blast Legacy. So some things to kind of go over with this guy is that this engine takes a few design notes from, and when I say design notes, please take that literally. There's a few notes that are, there's a few parts that are being used from the Force engine to this. So the bolt here. So if you notice here, the bolt's gonna kind of look like a Force bolt. Well, it actually is. Not to say that one came before the other, but this bolt and the Force bolt are identical. This actually uses Force pillow tips, so you could actually, if this gets blown out or miss, you could actually put a V2 tip in here if you wanted to, which is the harder material, made out of stainless steel instead of brass. Then you have the wrench flats here to help it separate from the ram easier. This cage also is a redesigned cage from these two. These had an issue with separating. These would break kind of in the middle. This is definitely reinforced. It's not going to break on you. And this is the same thing that they moved over to the Force as well. Now, where the design kind of changes is from here on back. This is arguably designed for the Insight platform and not the Force, of course. So if I take this apart, it does separate right here. I'm not going to go too far into the weeds here, but as you can see, this is the shutoff now. This shutoff is totally different than what the other shutoff was. And like I said, I'm not going to get very technical, although I'm going to leave the technical folks, such as Alex and maybe Jared with Salty, if he wants to go over that or be a little more technical, just kind of showing you the general difference between the two. There's a bumper that is sitting in here. You probably can't see it from the camera. However, I know Blast is going to be coming out with a statement about that, Blast Legacy. They shipped on these engines, on the rear part of the engine, it should be a 90 durometer tin, and it's been shipping with a 70 durometer, which might be too soft, might be causing some issues. So they're supposed to be coming out with something later to fix that. Mine has the correct O-ring in there. So you'll see in the tests that are coming up, I will have all the correct O-rings that are needed to be in the engine. If you do have a question, I know there's a little gap right here. That's intentional. So just keep in mind, you don't have to keep screwing it in, or, you know, oh, it doesn't screw in enough. That is intentional. He did mention that too, but I just wanted to call it out in this video too. So yeah, this is just basically a visual difference, just an introduction to the test that I'm going to be doing. So just to kind of go over while I have everyone here, the test that I'm going to be doing will be done on these three engines right here. I did basically two, I don't know if you want to call it torture tests, but I did two tests. I stuck every one of these bolts in, and now they've all been greased evenly, as close as I can. Like I said, I'm not going to measure the lube and then apply that exact measurement to certain parts. I'm just not going to do that. I don't have the time to do that. But they're all been lubed relatively the same, as best as I can get it. Very light application, nothing too heavy. The lube I am using for all three of these engines is the Field 1 lube. There also is the whipped lube that Blast Legacy offers, which is a good option too. Tech T is also excellent lube for this engine too. It's a very nice thin lube. So I would use one of those for this engine. I would not use something heavy. Obviously, do not use Dow 55 unless you're putting it on a sealing O-ring, such as like an ASA to frame or frame to body. I would not use Dow 55 on anything dynamic at all, mainly static. And even then, I would leave this engine alone with Dow 55. Just to also throw that out there, I know some people have messaged me on the side and have been using a thicker lube or just 33 or just 55. You really don't want to use that. You want to use something thin and slick on this engine. I even go the extra mile, and like I said, I know there's pros and cons. Now, I will say Tri-Flow will break down silicone-based lubricants. So if you do lube this with a Dow-like substance or a silicone-based substance, such as 33, 7, 11, something like that, or a base of that, and I personally like to put a drop of Tri-Flow on the bolt tip. If that somehow got into the engine somewhere or backed out into it, it would break that grease down eventually, and then, you know, you would lose a lot of that. So that's why when I use the Tech T or the Field 1 lube, those two lubes won't actually break down. The Tri-Flow won't break those lubes down. So anyways, enough of that. The test that I've done, I've stuck all three of these engines in the freezer just to see what happens. And then I've stuck all three of these engines in a controlled heat box that I've had regulated at 120 degrees. So I've put all these engines into 120 degrees and then shot them after. So we've done a cold test and then a hot test. And then I've also done a dry test where I've lubed I've taken all the lube off all of these engines and then shot them to see if they function, if they don't function. That's kind of where I'm getting at. And then I'm also gonna give you my opinion on which ones might feel better or shoot different or have a different sound signature, which might be hard, and I know subjective because the microphone on this camera and where I'm shooting it, that all could be different. You know, sounds can translate over, and I'll try to do my best to just give you my honest opinion. But the results will speak for themselves. The paint that I'm using is just recreational paint that you could get from playing just a regular walk-on day by my local field, Texas Legends. Shout out to Texas Legends. He always helps me out with paint so that I can do these videos for you guys, and then also my tech work. So yeah, let's get to it. This is just the introduction, and we're gonna do the cold test first, and then we're gonna do the heat test. And then because Jordan Pinzolo, I'm sorry if I said that wrong, because Jordan mentioned at 5-star, he wanted a peanut butter test. I've went ahead and I've lubed one of these engines with peanut butter. It's not chunky, so I'm sorry, but it is lubed with peanut butter, and we're just gonna see how it does. Just have fun with it, because why not, right? So yeah, let's get to it, and yeah, let's go. Alright guys, Jacob here, Flawless Airworks. Today I have my sophisticated workbench. All the tables that I own are at with my scenario team, so I don't own anything anymore. They all have it, so I need to go get it from them. But anyways, enough about that. Right now we're doing the freezer test. All these engines have been in the freezer for about 6 hours, so I just wanted to hurry up and do it really quick before they defrost. So let's go ahead and do it. I do have a pressure tester here with me. Right now, the Hindsight is set at 200 PSI on the money. All right, we have 290, 295, 287, 300, 288. Hopefully you guys can see that. That is at 200 PSI. All right, I'm gonna degas this guy. And we're going to put in the next engine. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put the reflex in. Now keep in mind, this is real time. I have no idea what these engines are gonna do. So, let's see. All right, reflex. Once again, 200 PSI. I'll do a clearing shot first. 259, 269, 270, 263, 269. So definitely a decrease in FPS, but the no leaks, no issues, no anything. Working even though it's frozen. All right, you guess that one. I have my assistant here, Kaney. All right, stock engine, 200 PSI. And I know guys, this isn't scientific. I'm just trying to have fun and give you guys a perspective here. All right, so you could say all engines have no leaks upon airing up after being in the freezer. I just shot my fence. All right, here we go. 257, 277, 286, 274, 282. Now I will say, just to show you. Oh, hold up. All right. Sorry, that one left the screen here. 267, 275. All right, that's the stock engine. Now, I will say, instead of being very transparent, very honest, the stock engine shoots about the same feel-wise as the Hindsight. The reflex to me shoots the softest, and I don't know if that's because of that return spring, that cushion that's in the back. It shoots the softest to me. I'm just gonna go ahead and go through the reflex one more time. Like I said, all of these operating pressures are at 200 on the mark. I did not adjust the HPR. I degassed and regassed multiple times just to ensure that we're still at 200. And once again, I'll put the tester in right now just to show you guys. Oh. Okay, hopefully you guys can see that. Hopefully, but it is at 200, right under, maybe a little under, maybe 190. So that's what the performance, it seems like around the 190, 200 range. The only engine that was able to actually keep up with velocity at about the 290, 300 range is the Hindsight, thus proving that the Hindsight actually does work on a reduced operating pressure compared to the Insight engine, which could be up to 220, about 190 to 220 psi. The Hindsight seems to be, they said that it actually operates lower on their booklet, and I'll come back to that. But according to this gauge, it's actually needs to be at about 190, 195, a little under 200 to hit actually velocity. Now granted, I understand that's right out the freezer, so just kind of keep in mind of that. But what we're going to do now is let's go ahead, let's put the stock engine back in, air it up, make sure I don't have two balls. I don't. All right, and what we're going to do is 282. Well, okay, the engine have probably defrosted now. So we're at about 195, 190, and we're shooting 277, 271, 275. Let's bump it up a little bit. Just a little bit more. 296, 296, 291. All right. 291. Let's see what pressure we're at. Gas. Off. Pressure tester. We're up. Okay, we are at about 205, 210. Hopefully you guys can see that. So that's where we're at with the stock engine. I'm gonna go ahead and my dog is eating paintballs, so that's cool. But let's go ahead and put the reflex in, same PSI. The reflex and the stock engine should have similar results. So let's go ahead and see what happens here. Balls. All right. 300, 276, 297, 290. 298, 296, 290. All right, so we're in the 290s as foretold. No difference really. Now, as far as shot quality, once again, my opinion, I have shot quite a few of these. But if I were to shoot it, this is a softer shooting on the rear stroke of the marker, considerably less kick. So let's go ahead and, oh, there's that ball. Let's go ahead and put the Hindsight in. All right, we're still at 200 PSI. Nothing's changed. Stop my dog from eating these. All right. Look at that, dude, you full of paint. All right, Hindsight, 200 PSI. 300, 315, 312. All right, so let's lower that. 285. 284, 284, 290, 286, 282. So we're kind of where I like to be. Obviously, results may vary, mileage may vary. So let's go ahead and see where we're at with the Hindsight. Alright, this is the Hindsight pressure, shooting at about the same velocity as the stock and reflex. Alright, and we are at 180. 180. So you can see that. 180. So we are operating about 20 psi for my test right here, right now. 20 psi difference. So take that what you will. It is running lower, so there's that. As far as it running like 40 or 50 psi, maybe not, but it is running lower. So it will be a lower operating pressure. Now, going back to my opinion. Anything that I'm saying is my opinion, and that's it. It's not, I'm not pressured by anybody or anyone's else's opinion. But I will say that out of all three engines, if I were to rank them as far as shot quality for me, the Hindsight feels very similar to a Force's shot, which is not a bad thing. But that's kind of what it feels like. Like I said, not a bad thing. And now as far as the reflex engine to me shoots the smoothest. And I really do think it's because of that rear hit when it hits that plate with the spring behind it. I think that's what really helps that recoil. It is a lot smoother on the rear coming in. Now I will say, and I did, Richard Wood Blast did tell me to mention this. Now if there's ever an update or a part or an O-ring update or like actual hardware, like a shut-off change, I'm not saying that's out in the works or not like that, but in the future if something like that does exist, once you buy that engine, you're buying into its engine and its life cycle. So if there's a change, an update, kind of similar to like the V2 Force updates, not upgrade, updates, then Blast will actually send you those parts included, free, and they'll update your engine for you. So if there's an update to, let's say, the can or the ram guide or the shutoff or any kind of various O-rings or anything like that, that is going to be included in the, in the purchase of the engine. Now, one update that I know he's going to be coming out with it. There is one update. There was a mix-up with their ram bump, the O-ring bumpers on the rear. They were shipped with 70 durometer instead of 90, so they were kind of softer. I know there might have been some issues with that, perhaps. I replaced it with a 90. I have no issues. I've shot probably multiple hoppers through this engine. I've had no issues whatsoever. So that's kind of where we're at with this. Now, the next test that I'm going to do the same thing. It's going to be the same PSI. I'm just going to keep it at 200 because that operates the stock and the reflex just fine, and the Hindsight is just a little bit higher. But I'm going to do a dry test. Zero lube on the gun. I'm going to run them bone dry and see what they do. I know these are grease hogs, so I want to run the stock and the reflex dry, and then I'm going to run the Hindsight dry and see what happens. So let's go ahead and yeah, that's next. Alright guys, we are back. These engines are bone dry. I even took the O-rings out of their grooves and took all the grease out of the O-ring grooves. These things are totally dry in all three engines. So once again, we are still operating at the 200 PSI range. Something I didn't note that I forgot to say last time, that these tests are all being done at a dwell of 13, nothing higher, not 13.5, not 12.5. These are all being run at a dwell of 13. I also will note that none of these engines are plugged. I know that's been a fix that's kind of been going around, especially Alex. I will say though that I am going to be sending my Hindsight out to Alex so that he could go ahead and play with that and then give his report on any improvements that the Hindsight might have with its holes tapped and drilled and sealed, because it also has the 3 holes on the left and the 3 vent holes on the right, having 6 total, as the Hindsight does, as well as the stock and the Reflex. So there was an improvement, a documented improvement on the Reflex and the stock engines doing that. So let's see what the Hindsight does, but I'll let him do that. But for now, my test are a little more archaic. So like I said, bone dry test, 200 psi, 12 of 13. See what happens. No leaks. All right, here we go. All right. 254, 265, 271, 242, 248, 264. All right, velocity is all over the place. Granted, it is dry, right? So it's firing, the velocity is all over the place. But it's firing. Let's just... All right. Let's go ahead and put the Reflex in. It is. All right, 252, 266, 242, 264, 258, 272, 278, 272. So operating a little bit better, a little bit more consistent, a little bit higher velocity compared to the stock engine. Like I said, this engine's also dry. So let's go ahead and put a few rounds. Okay. One thing I'm going to change is I think my rate of fire is, yes, it is low. I'm going to go ahead and change that. Okay. My apologies. Turn it back on. All right. Let's go ahead and put, I thought my eyes were faulting. Let's go ahead and put the Hindsight in. That's it, bone dry. Balls. All right. 281, 285, 289, 282, 278. So, higher velocity. Kind of knew that was going to happen. That's about a, you could say almost a 30 FPS increase just from the very stock engine, maybe about 10-15 from the Reflex. So as far as the Hindsight is concerned, the Hindsight will run at the lowest operating pressure compared to the other engines. I will say, I reiterate again, shot quality, it feels like a stock engine to me. So if I shoot it, it feels like just the stock engine. If I had a request, I don't even know if this is possible. If you could make the Hindsight engine with the bumper-like design as the Reflex, I think you would have something special. But let's put whatever I got left in the hopper here. I mean, it shoots good. I'm not gonna deny that. I'm not gonna say it doesn't. It shoots good. It sounds. Oh, sorry. A lot. Yeah, 293, 291. Shooting in 290s. Shoots good. It sounds good. It sounds like a stock engine. I will say the Reflex is just softer and it actually sounds a little bit quieter. Now, one thing I didn't try that maybe Alex would want to do. I didn't put the V2 tip, which is a stainless steel material, and then the rubber is actually harder. I've been told that's actually making the sound of the Force a little bit quieter. So I don't know if that would actually do the same to this guy. But yeah, so let's go ahead and pause for now, and then we're gonna do the over-lube test. We're gonna lube the absolute crap out of these things and see what happens. All right. Let's do that. Hey guys, here we go again. We're doing the over-lube test. I'm gonna be using the lube that they send, Blast Legacy, called Whipped Cream. It's a Dow 33 lube with no additives in it. Basically just pure. You see this kind of looks like, it's like a white, clearish look to it. So we're gonna be over-lubing the crap out of this. I'm gonna do it in real time so you see me doing it. This is boring, I apologize. That's a crazy amount. Nope, 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 let's not eat that. Okay, I know you guys can't see that, but when I pulled the bolt forward, a wad of grease just exploded out the top of that engine. So can't say I'm not over lubing this thing. All right, all in there, yeah. It's Valentine's Day, right? Nice and lubed. All right, well, nice and over lubed. Over-lubed Hindsight engine, no leaks. Pod number 2. Sorry, I'm not doing an efficiency test. I'm just not. In theory, you should get more shots out of the Hindsight, but anyways, regardless. All right, once again, dwell of 13, operating pressure 200 psi. All right, 280, 300, 282, 283, 304, 282, 282. Seems we've lost in FPS. We've actually lost some. Obviously, shit ton of lube. It's dragging. It just kind of makes sense. But we got to do it, right? So there is a line of too much and not enough. Obviously, that's too much. It looks like we dropped about 18 FPS just from that. Let's take this out. Let's go ahead and let's over-lube the reflex engine. Like I said, I am using the whipped cream that Blast Legacy has given me. Like you should never ever use this much. I'm laying it on. All right. We'll say this grease is pretty cool though. I actually really like it. Let's see. All right. I'm sure I'm gonna have 2 balls. Hello? Alright. Not sure what happened there. Alright, here we go. 284, 274, 287, 266, 281, 280, 288. Actually performing a little bit better than the Hindsight. Still a softer shot in my opinion. The gun doesn't kick at all. Well, very minimum. All right, stock engine. Over-lube. Oh, there he goes. Oh no, we're not eating that. All right. go. Instead of doing it all on camera, so there's no one saying I'm not doing it or I'm doing it off camera or whatever. This is not scientific, guys, so just bear with me here. Alright. Crazy overlubed stock engine. Okay. I will say good news is no leaks on any single engine even after the freeze test, so. Alright, here we go. 2 balls. 304. 296. 296. 298. 301. What the hell? 296. I don't, buddy, let's stop eating the grease, my God. Let's stop eating the grease. Also, yeah, 289. I'm just 289. Also, I don't know if you've watched a lot of my videos or not, but that ice cream man has been the bane of my existence ever since I moved here. Every time I do a shooting video, I usually have to stop and wait for him to pass, and it could be any time of the day. I'm about to make a Flawless Airwork shirt with an ice cream truck on it because he's pissing me off. All right. That's it for the over-lube test, because this guy's ruining it. All right, bye. All right, guys, this is going to be for Jordan with 5-star services, marker repair. If you have any markers that you also need to send to him for repair, make sure to hit him up. I know he's having a baby right now, so he's going to be a dad here soon, if not already. But this is for him. I know he told me that he wanted to lube the Hindsight with chunky peanut butter. Unfortunately, I don't have any peanut butter. But because I'm half Hispanic, I have hot sauce and I have Cholula. So we're gonna do that. And also Jared with Salty Engineering, he let me borrow his engine. This is not your engine, this is mine, so don't worry. Worst case, it's hot sauce. So let's go ahead, so you can see on camera, put a few drops in there. Okay, we got some hot sauce in there. It's the ultimate spicy. All right, on the engine here, on the ram. Okay. All right, let's put that in there. Okay, we have hot sauce coming out of the airports. Okay. Okay, and then let's put some on the. All right, here we go. Nice and good. Oh shoot! All right, here we go. Hot sauce, lubed with hot sauce. Cholula. Not a sponsor. Don't worry, this is going out for Anno, so yeah, sorry whoever's anodizing this. It's all over my shirt. Speaking of shirt, Wildcat Paintball, Ben, if you need to use gun, hit him up. I don't know anyone that's as determined to get you a working marker than him, so not a sponsor. But he sent me a free shirt, so maybe he is, I don't know. All right, here we go. We have no leaks. All right, here we go. I might cover my eyes in case I get Cholula vented into atmosphere and I mace myself. So maybe that's why peanut butter was a better idea. There it is. There it is. We have one shot at 222. And yeah. my glasses got hit with hot sauce. So, will it hot sauce? No. It will not hot sauce. One more time. 213, and now it's leaking. Okay. Well, I'm gonna need a shower after that, so hopefully that made somebody laugh. Wow, that is nasty. Okay. My lab assistant is just ravishing on paintballs. Okay, well, this is dirty. This is gonna need to be cleaned or sent off to Anno immediately. So there's that. All right, guys, I hope this was something. It was more along the lines of just to do something fun. Nothing too crazy. Yeah, just gather your own opinion with the details I'm giving you. If you want to ultimately ask me what engine would I choose over the 3 that I've shot, it would either be probably the Reflex or the Hindsight. I would probably, at the end of the day, choose the Reflex, just because it shoots a little bit smoother, and that's kind of how I like my markers to shoot. I like a smooth shooting marker. That's my preference. That doesn't deny the performance that you gain from the Hindsight. So just kind of take that what you will. The Hindsight shoots pretty much like a Force. So if you like that Force shot and you have an Insight, I would get a Hindsight. Or if you have a Reflex, I probably wouldn't buy a Hindsight if you had a Reflex engine. But if you need an engine, you have a stock engine, you don't have a Reflex, I think the Hindsight's a great engine to have. Plus, and you get lifetime updates with it if they have updates. So I guess that's all for now. So yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. Appreciate it. Have a good day. Happy Valentine's Day. So later, everyone.